Okay. Hello to whoever's listening to this from my corner of the world to your corner of the world. I don't know. I still haven't worked out the intro. Maybe that'll be it, but I don't know. I don't know. I like to think of everything kind of like as a corner because when you think about it, there's this book called Quadrivium. Quadrivium. I recommend it. Except, oh my God, my socks are kind of dirty. I've been on my feet all day, so please. And yeah, so they've been in the bottom of my shoes, just pressing and pressing and rubbing, and they're white. So, it happens. I probably should stop buying white socks. Who is this riding on this bike? I don't know, but holy shit. Girl, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? This small little bird just came and flew like literally right in front of me from around the corner. Like not like a few feet away, but literally right past my face. You may have even been able to hear the fucking wings. Ooh, child. Where's your mama? Your daddy? Somebody. Your ass is out here bugging. Um, up. And where are you going now? I don't know. Just have a good day. Somebody needs to come get their child. Um, but I recommend it. However, I do think like it helped me when I read that book to like read it a little at a time because it is a lot to take in. And if you don't understand maths really well, or science, or fractions, or decimals, or things like that, it can get kind of confusing. And me, I was never really like good at math until like my senior year of high school. I was always really bad. Like I was really good at my multiplications and things like that, but I was never good at like, and subtraction and addition and things. But when fractions started getting involved, I was like, yeah, nah, I don't know what's going on. And I understood like, dividing of the fractions a bit, but when they started multiplying and, making them improper, it was just a lot. And then they, decimals and the decimal place and the tenths and the hundredths and all that stuff, I started getting very confused. And I think like our teachers that we had couldn't slow it down enough. And I don't like teachers like that. I don't like teachers. Oh my God, please don't be what I think it is. Oh my God, it is. It is. Oh my God. Okay, so every time I have seen like in the past maybe like 5 to 7 years, whenever we've had like deaths, like huge deaths, or I've had like a huge death around, I remember that right before those deaths, I always saw a cardinal, like a red cardinal, and then either the same day or a few days later. It's never like a month later or 2 months later. It's usually either that same day at the same time or a few days later. I end up seeing a blue jay. So I'll always see the cardinal, and then like a few days later, I'll always see the blue jay, and then someone dies. And so the other day, and I even have a recording to my friend about it. The other day, I ended up seeing a cardinal, and I was like, oh my God, hopefully I don't see a blue jay in the next few days, but I'll look for one just in case. Like, not look for it, like, not go out seeking it, but, I'll keep my eye out, like, when I see birds to see what kind of bird it is. And here we have two blue jays now One is currently in the bird bath. The other one just like dropped down from a tree. So I think I saw the red cardinal like last week, and now we have a blue jay. So yikes. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm spooked. I'm scared. And I do always get scared like when those, you know, signs come because like I said, the man I love is a fucking fool. And so I always worry he's gonna get into some shit or he's not gonna drive safely or like I do think that people were envious of him and that's why they sometimes sabotage him. And so it just makes me worry. But I also, worry about my sister or my brother or, whoever it could be. Speaking of, I have to call my big brother back. He called me. Um, oh, there goes like a little red birdie over there. Oh, but it's not fully red. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that thing. Um, but yeah, so it just makes me worry about who it could be. But I do feel like I could handle almost any girl. Go home. Oh my god, this bird is just I don't know what it thinks is going on. Like you gotta go find who you belong to, but it's not me. Um, but good thing all these birds are here. Today I ended up and the reason I do talk about like random stuff, I do have a topic today by the way. The topic is why hip hop is dying, but I'm gonna elaborate on it a little bit more. I plan on this to be like maybe 45 minutes, anywhere from 30 to 40 or 50 minutes. I think that's how long I want to make these. But I do have other stuff to do. To, I got some broccoli stalks from my job that they were going to throw out, and I have to cut them up into like, smaller pieces and put them by the bird baths that we have or like put them in the backyard so some of the birds can get them. I have a bird feeder. I just got to find it and put it out there for the birds. And then we have chickens, and so I'm gonna give some to the chickens. And that way it didn't just get thrown out, and go to the trash bin. It's a good way to use all parts of your broccoli. So I don't know if you're into, helping the environment and stuff like that. Always compost your veggies when you can, or like leave the scraps out for the ants or the birds, or if you know anyone who has birds or chickens, just you can give them the scraps. Or if you know anyone who composts, you can give them the scraps. I remember like one time my best friend she was like, "Hey, my job is throwing out all these fruits. Do you want them?" And I was just like, I guess. And I'm thinking like it's gonna be like maybe like a small little tray or something. And she comes with like two huge boxes full of like all these different fruits and veggies and stuff. And she's so tiny and she's like this little short thing. And I'm like, girl, how the fuck did you get all of this into your car? And she said one of her coworkers helped her, and I had to help her get it out of the car. It was damn near taller than she was. This long, huge, these two big boxes of fucking fruits and veggies. But that was the day I was like, yeah, this is my person. This is my person because she supports all of my craziness and wild dreams. Um, and yeah, she's amazing, amazing. And maybe one day I'll talk about like growing and things like that with friends and stuff. Because me and her, we've known each other for almost 15 years now. 15 years of friendship. And so, I don't know, I think aging is probably what it'll be about. Because it's just so weird, knowing someone for so long. Um, and you never think about that when you first meet them. You may think, oh, I wonder if we'll know each other for a long time, but you never think of where you guys will be, at that time and the mindset you guys may be in, you know. or if your likes or dislikes will change. You know, now we talk about sometimes like how like loud music annoys us, cars driving by with loud music and stuff, kids having loud music. And we used to be those children and those teenagers. And so it's just aging is so funny. And so maybe one day I'll talk about it on here. But now you see why I need the 40 to 50-minute time frame. I don't know if I'll ever make hour long ones. I'm sure I will if it's a topic I really, really like. Um, but the ADHD, and that's another reason I wanted to make this as transparent and authentic as possible so people can get a understanding of what ADHD is like, I think a lot of people talk about it and they describe it and things like that, but they never, unless you know someone with ADHD, you may not know what it's like. And we can jump from topic to topic to topic to topic. And also just talking about random things on here is something I wanted to do because I think once again, like I said, the internet brings us all closer. And it's kind of like if you're on social media and you see someone's grocery haul. I love grocery hauls because I'm just so fucking nosy about what everybody else has in their pantry. I love like, you know, eco-friendly like clothing hauls or eco-friendly, items and stuff like that. I love those kind of hauls. Um, I love like vlogs and stuff. I love, love, love vlogs. Depending on the person, like I don't like like just any kind of vlog. But like if you're a healthy, like I said, environmentalist type, or a scientist or, a musician or something like that. Like not a, celebrity or anything, but like a underground musician or something. I love those kind of vlogs. I just love seeing the humanity of the world. And so I don't know. I thought, why not start a YouTube channel and build that? Speaking of fucking loud music, do you hear that music? That's from around the corner, by the way. That's what I mean. Like, why do I need to hear music all the way over on this side of town? That's crazy. But yes, I do recommend that book. I don't know why I even got on that topic, but oh, because I was talking about math and things like that. Don't know why I was talking about that. That's what ADHD does for you guys. But I do recommend the book. But like I said, I do recommend reading it like very much a few pages at a time. Unless you're just a genius and you're really smart and you know all these numbers and things like that, like then go for it. Because I do love reading, I really do. But as I get older, I love to research what I'm reading. And I love to stop and look up words that I don't know and write them down. And I try to use them more often. I have this book, this little purple book, and I need to buy another tote bag and then I'll start carrying the book with me. But it has like all these words that I usually don't use, and I want to start trying to use them to expand my vocabulary more. Because I used to have like a very advanced vocabulary for my age. I was always good at English and stuff like that. But I think it started to dwindle like over time. The less reading I did and the more relaxed I got and not reading. And so when I got older, like a few months ago, maybe not a few months ago, maybe like a year or two ago, and I noticed like I had started misspelling words that I used to be able to easily spell. I was like, wait a fucking minute. Nah. Uh-uh. Get your ass, sit down, read a fucking book. And I picked books back up and I've enjoyed it ever since. Cause like I was reading here and there, but I wasn't like doing how I do now. Now I read about like this is not a lot compared to some people, but it's a lot compared to some others. So now I read like maybe I try to read like 2 books a month if I can. So maybe like 24, 25 books a year. It depends on the size and of course how much stuff in the book I have to stop and research as I go. But I do try to, read as much as possible. And I try to at least read 10 pages on my days off. If I'm off, I try to read at least 10 pages, but I can always read like more and stuff if I want throughout that week. So there's that. I don't, oh, now I know how I got on that topic of quadrivium, my intro. I do think everything is a cube, and they talk about like shapes and 3D shapes and stuff like that in that book, and it really does help show you how every shape starts from one little shape, and how basically circles, triangles, cubes, rectangles, diamonds, like they're all one shape. It it's very interesting that way. And when you think about it, people say like to say we live in a circle, but like as the globe, but I really think from perspective wise, we live in a cube. Everything on the side of you is on the side. Everything in front is, from side to side. Everything on the other side of you is, from side to side. Like it's not really a circle because you can't see behind you. So everything else is a cube, which is 3D, and you are the viewer, which is 4D. Um, and that's how I think of life. I think, you live in a corner and everything else is the rest of the room. You are the viewer. So that's how I got my intro. That's where the intro came from. But onto the topic of the video. I have water, I have a cigar, and then I'm gonna go inside and eat my fucking salad and chop this damn broccoli. And then I think I have like a few more other things to do, but that's neither here nor there. Why I think hip hop is dying. Okay. I got this idea from Twitter. I saw someone's post and they were like, what's going on? Why is hip hop dying? And to be honest, I don't think hip hop is dying per se. I think this era of hip hop is dying. I think eventually we're going to go back to more of a poetic justice type of hip hop. But the thing is, okay, and this is my idea of it. I don't think just hip hop is dying. I think music genres are dying. No one has like a favorite genre of music really anymore. Like I think growing up as a kid, people were like, oh yeah, I love this genre. Oh, I hate this genre. Oh, this is my genre right here. But I think we've seen over time that we have favorite artists and we may have favorite songs, but I think so many people, have crossed paths with different kinds of music now that no one really has a favorite genre. No one just stays in their lane anymore. I think growing up, if you were black and you listened to country music, you were considered whitewashed or an Oreo, or you wanted to be white. And now you have Shabuzi, you have Little Nas X, right? Things like that. And I'm a huge, huge Shabuzi fan. Love him, love him, love him, love him. And I think all the recognition he's been getting recently is well, well deserved. Um, and then of course, if you were, white and you listened to hip hop growing up, you were considered like a culture, appropriator unless you grew up around black people. But nowadays, it's kind of like normal to find white people listening to black music. or hip hop music or rap music or whatever the case may be. The white boys love Future, supposedly, allegedly these days. And it's just like, it's so normal, you know? Um, so I think it used to be able to live a bit more because it it was kind of like, and I'll use an example, right? Racism was higher and more normalized when there were whites only and blacks only items and places. And once those started going away, so did racism more and more, right? We still have it, but for the most part, that's what hyped it up. So, of course, people had their lanes. And I think it made things easier because, hey, you're not supposed to listen to this music. You're not supposed to be in this genre. Like a lot of people were, I think we have to remember a lot of white people, at least as someone who grew up in the suburbs, I noticed a lot of white people stopped listening to 106.1 and things like that once Polo G and Juice World became, more known. And then it's like, oh no, all that music is demonic. Not just hip hop music anymore, but all the music is demonic. And you need to turn that off and let's go to church and this and that. And before then, when it was mainly white artists, of course, it was more hyped up by white people or, older white people, more conservative white people. And so, oh my God, I think I got a mosquito bite. I fucking hate it here. Hopefully, you see the point of like this aesthetic I set up. Transparent outside background noise, like white noise, you know, very random shit going on in the background. That was kind of the idea behind it. We had the music, you hear the dog. So there's a whole bunch of random shit going on in the background, but with the black screen option. It's kind of the idea. A very raggedy type of video. Rugged is the word I'm looking for, maybe. Very rugged. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think it kind of fits my personality though. But it was more easier for people to get definite listens and definite types of fans and things because hey, we know the black people are going to support this. We know the white people are going to support this type of artist. It was very much a definite thing. Now, however, it's not so much. And I think the reason is obviously there has been a lot of culture mixing. I think really in my opinion, starting from my generation, uh I'd say my brother's generation, my older brothers, um, is where it first kind of started becoming an idea, and now it's very normalized. And so there are some people who want things to stay strictly black. They don't want to share, they don't want other people coming into the the culture. But they are very aware that all music comes from Africa, right? All life comes from Africa. And that's a whole different topic we'll probably get into another day. But Of course, if you're religious, you may disagree. If you're into science, you may agree. But for the most part, even if you just study music, most instruments, the earliest instruments came from the more eastern parts of the map over there and more brown areas and had, mainly drums and things. It was more of a spiritual practice than just a pastime. Um, and so they believe Black people should be in every era or area of music, but other people can't come into hip hop. And so the moment we start letting other races and people into hip hop, they're like, oh, the culture's sold out and we don't want to listen anymore. We don't want to support this anymore. And so they stop listening to new artists and new hip hop music. And they just keep listening to the old stuff, the old stuff, the old stuff. But those people aren't either alive or they're not making music anymore. And so the new people aren't getting as much place. That's one reason. And then the second reason is there has been a rise in consciousness in the Black community over the years. And so we no longer like listening to certain, music and things that lower our vibration because we understand that what you listen to very much, determines what you may feel like you relate to. And I think we have noticed the differences over the years of how Caucasian culture or other cultures may be portrayed in media versus Black culture. And we realize it's very deliberate. It's very deliberate. And I think some of us want to break those cycles and we don't want our kids, you know, thinking that that's all that there is to them. And that's all that they'll ever be able to produce. And so we've shown them different kinds of things, different kinds of music, different kinds of art, right? And so I think we have a lot more Black painters, a lot more Black, you know, fashion designers and, you know, instrumentalists and things like that. And so not as many people feel like their only way out now is, you know, just that one good, basement rap song. They feel like there's other ways. And so a lot more people aren't even making that kind of music anymore because they're trying other ways of art. We have sculptors, we have, people who do just very innovative things, right? Like things you've never seen before. And so a lot more people are not making that as they used to. At first, that was like your only ticket out the hood, either a ball, a pen and paper, and that's about it. That was like your only two tickets. And now you can have so many other type of forms of creativity that can also be your ticket and not cause harm to the community or negativity to the community. And so I think some people are trying those outlets. So that's my second reason. And then reason number three is with all the other stuff from reason number two being said, I think as well, since we have elevated our consciousness and we don't want that to be a continued cycle, I think we try to, a lot more people, a lot more Black people try to stay away from music that talk about women in a certain way, talk about always selling drugs in our community and killing our community members, that talk about violence and killing each other and things like that. Like we are raising our vibration as a people, and I think we are outgrowing lower frequency things like hip hop. And the reason I don't think hip hop is actually dying is because I don't think what they have out now is hip hop really. I think, you know, they still like to call it hip hop because it makes us feel like this is still that good old, stuff we listened to back in the day, but obviously it's not. Like if you listen to a lot of old, like I said, artists, most of their stuff is talking about not picking up guns, not doing drugs, staying in school and getting an education, not letting, the world or Caucasian people tell you who you are, wearing your natural hair and not like, you know, conforming to beauty standards. And nowadays, it's different. It's telling you like, hey, perk this, perk that, pill this, flying bitches here, um, 30, 40 inch bust downs here, like my bitch this and she has another bitch that came with her that, and it's not what we want our sons to be. It's not what we want our daughters to be. And so we don't want them to listen to something like that to tell them once again that's who they are. Whereas once again, back in the day, the music was way more uplifting. I don't know, you guys. Hold on. I may have to film these inside until winter comes because these fucking mosquitoes. And it bit me on my ankle, which is even worse. I swear, those are the freakiest ones. The ones that bite you on your ass and then the ones that bite you on your fucking ankles. Freaks. Very intimate. Like, just, I always feel very violated when they do that. Um, so I think a lot more people aren't playing that music, anymore for their children. And so it's dying for that reason as well. And then a lot of people used to listen to it, in the morning. They used to listen to it in the morning. Um, and you would have like the prank calls and things like that, and it would be like a morning routine. But now it's kind of hard because you're afraid any song could come on with your kids in the car, so you always have to wait till they get out the car to change the station. And it used to be, okay, well, this radio station's on commercial, this one's on commercial, so let me go to this one. Where now we have streaming services, right? So eas you can more easily choose to not even listen to those kinds of songs. It's not like you're waiting for a commercial to end. And it's not like you have to wait for your kids to get out the car. You can just choose better music. And so now that's how we used to hear certain artists, on the radio and things like that. And who is this? And oh, let me go look them up on YouTube. And oh, I like their stuff. Oh, Ticketmaster says they have concerts coming. And that became an artist you like, and then you would go to their concert and things like that. And now it's just a whole totally different route. Um, and really, I think it's harder for new artists to even get seen because streaming services. Now, streaming services, they don't like we're not gonna easily just pick up something we don't really know about, we may not like or whatever. So we're gonna click the songs we usually listen to, the ones we usually like. We're not gonna really try anything new. And so if there are new artists coming out, once again, it's hard to discover them. That's my fourth reason. My third reason was we are just choosing not to let our kids listen to that kind of stuff as much anymore. So it's not getting as much exposure. And I guess that kind of can relate to my fifth reason. A lot of our generation, some of us aren't having kids. This is the generation that has had the least amount of fucking kids, and we're almost 30. And we don't like listening to that music. And as you get older, you don't like listening to that kind of stuff because you understand what it actually is putting into people's minds. And so, since we don't like listening to it, but we don't have kids who will sneak and listen to it because we don't have any kids at all, then there's not as many people listening to that music, even more so. So, that's like three to four quadruple reasons and less consumers of this content. And I think they did it to themselves because, I mean, we can only talk about killing each other for so long until we realize it's doing us a disservice as a quote unquote race, right? Um, and I'm speaking specifically on the black race. I really don't identify as any race. I really don't even identify as human. I'm just fucking here. I don't even really think this is Earth. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't think that is a man over there mowing his lawn. I don't even know what that thing is he's using. I don't even know I don't know what the fuck is going on. But of course, that is the higher conscious in me. But if I have to bring myself down to translate to, the earthly beings, then yeah, we can categorize it as race. And yeah, that's the man over there mowing his lawn, unless he identifies as something different. But you get the gist. So that's like quadruple, like I said, reasons and less consumers of this content. And once again, the people who leave the culture or leave this genre behind and only stick to R&B or soul or jazz because they feel like we have too many, people coming into what was basically a very closed practice and now just doing anything with it, and we're kind of letting them. Um, mm, mhm. Another reason I think hip hop is dying, and I hate to say it. I hate to say it. Female artists. I think hip hop is dying because of female artists. Back in the day, hip hop was a very male dominated field of music, and it was okay for, men to get on stage and just hold a mic and rap and do nothing, right? They just get on stage, everybody put your hands up and say, oh, and like the crowd was like, yeah, that was the best fucking concert ever, yada, yada, yada. But then we had Beyonce, and then we had other artists and, things like that. start to have actual shows, things like, Miley Cyrus, um, boy bands, whatever it is, people actually having choreography and dance routine and things like that. And we got so used to it. So now, like, I mean, even Janelle Monáe, right? She's, in a lot of different fields, but one of her fields is she can rap. So, is there off? I really don't like to use off because it's more of a chemical, but hmm, I guess my dad hasn't put it out yet. He usually puts it out around this time of year. But we got so used to, like, if I'm gonna pay all this money, it better be a damn good concert. There better be dancing, there better be this, there better be that. It better be fucking good. And so now you can't just go to a concert where it's, hip hop and it's a female, because not all of them have choreography. And if the, song is about like certain things or sexual things, then once again, you can't take your kids to this. And, women don't want their men going to it. And of course, men feel weird getting on stage during their hip hop performance and all dressing up in the same outfits and dancing and things like that. So it makes it a lot harder for them to even get concert, money, unless there's some people who are just okay going to a concert and bobbing their head and put your hands up, everybody, like that thing, then sure. But then once again, we see other concerts and we're like, damn, we want to go to concerts like that. But our artists don't have concerts like that. And so it's kind of like we start to ask ourselves, okay, then these people are good to just listen to. Like, we don't have to go to their concert. They're good to just listen to on the radio, or they're good to just listen to on the phone, or on like a streaming platform. And so we don't even connect with them in live concert as much anymore. And so it disconnects us from them, from the artist altogether. And we get less interested in them and more interested in other artists and maybe even other genres. And so ours, once again, that's like the fifth reason, it just continues to dwindle. And once again, it's what they promote. We are tired of listening to that shit. And it hasn't really changed over the years, except, in fact, it's only really gotten worse. There are no more good songs about like uplifting, and the ones that are, we barely hear on the radio, we barely hear anywhere. We gotta like go fucking under a rock to find it. And so a lot of people, as we raise our conscious, we don't want to listen to that. And I think knowledge comes with experience. But if you can't get it when you're younger, life will give it to you as you get older. And once again, the people who are getting older aren't having young, ignorant kids as much anymore. And so there's no young, ignorant kids to think that this is cool and this is okay to listen to. There's not enough of them to go around to even keep this ignorance and stupidity alive. And so we get tired of, hearing Future, not take care of his kids. And we get tired of, supporting Chris Brown, and then tomorrow he's gonna fucking knock some random fucking lady upside the fucking head again. Like, we get tired of supporting the men who harm our community. And we get tired of the women who are too ignorant to have more sacredness about themselves. And so, like I said, it's, I think, overall elevation in consciousness, which is a good thing. but I think that will eventually bring us back to the original kind of hip hop and not what we have now. And I think our old hip hop used to be very rooted in anti-capitalism, anti-imperialism, and not boosting up, you know, the white man, quote unquote. Whereas now they only compare themselves to white men and they only, you know, say, I gotta have 10 cars and I have white friends and, you know, Nicki Minaj saying like I have a, MAGA doctor and things like that. And we can even go as far as to talk about some of them, even some of the hip hop artists or rap artists selling out to MAGA and to Donald Trump and things like that. It we don't agree. We don't agree. And we realize they're all sellouts, they're all liars, they're all deadbeats, and we no longer want to support it. And I think the final reason I can think of is reality TV. You know, we have watched so many people come from love and hip hop, and we see that it's always just drama, it's always just fighting, it's always just negativity, and we have seen what it has done to our people, and I think we are tired of supporting it. I was never a huge hip hop fan, but I do have certain like favorite hip hop artists, K Flock, King Von, um, Kanye West. Um, I like Fabio sometimes. Kendrick Lamar is definitely one of my favorites. J. Cole. Um, Lil Wayne is a hit or miss for me sometimes. Um, that's pretty much it. Waka Flocka, when he made music more often, I really liked him. Like, I like really, like, just wild music, wild rap music. Um, but not what they have now. Not what they have now. And I like it as maybe like workout music or motivational kind of thing, but not really as like a way of life. Like I wouldn't actually do any of these things. But I think it can like make you feel like you're tough while you're lifting weights. And I think that's about it. But we don't, kids obviously can't tell the difference like adults, So we just try not to play it all together. And not only that, I think, back in the day, you could l- be in a store or you could be in a restaurant and maybe a Kanye West song or a Jay-Z song will come on. Like 99 Problems used to come on all the fucking time everywhere, and now there's just so much shit that they say in songs. You can't even play it in the fucking restaurant. You can't play it in the fucking mall. You can't play it anywhere. You can't play it in the goddamn store. And so they don't get as many plays. And so they don't get as many like as much coverage. And once again, they did it to themselves, but I do think it was very intentional. I do, because I think what hip hop was becoming was too powerful to the Black community to continue as it was. And so I think it was definitely a takeover, a government takeover. Um, and what do they call them? Plants and things like that. Uh, Taking over it and um just fucking it over to the point where no one wanted to listen to it. And I think it's a reset because now it gives a chance for pop to come back as the front runner. And we know pop has mainly white faces. And it gives a chance for, you know, country to take back over in certain conservative places instead of other things, you know? And so I think only ignorant people still entertain this. And the rest of us, we stick with what we know and we stick with older things and we stick with more high vibrational things. And so I think it's a way to kind of make people forget about Black progress while also throwing dirt on what was great at one point. And so I think that's why hip hop's dying. I think that is the little shabong of it. And like I said, I think it was very intentional. Um, and I think sometimes as Black people, a lot of times they have um this way of not realizing what the bigger plan actually is for them or for us until it's too late. And I think it is because of the dysfunction that has been placed on us and the poverty that has been placed on us, the redlining that has been placed on us, and of course, overall, late start that was placed on us here in this country. And really, the disconnect from our true identity to begin with. And so it keeps a lot of Black people in a lower state so that they can't fight back and so they can't know what's happening until it's too late. And I think once again over time, and especially after Black Lives Matter became a thing, more so, we just started having a different way of thinking. And we just don't support it as much. We don't support this type of living and thinking as much. And so I think when I was younger, I had, like relatives and things that were 30 still getting killed because of gang violence, 40, 50 still getting killed because of gang violence. But now you rarely hear about people, that old getting killed because of gang violence. It's really younger people because the people who are that age now, I think we've just outgrown it. Like, we understand, like, what this war is and how they play it now. We're starting to understand a bit more. And it's just about getting the youth to understand it. But of course, that's a hard thing to do. But also, some of them drop faster than we could ever imagine before we can even help them. And I do think it is because some of their parents didn't heal and didn't learn. And so they played the same music for them. They taught them the same things in the same ways. And they just picked up the cycle. And I think, once again, the people who were lucky enough to bump into or experience something different got to have that triggered. Like, hey, there's a new perspective. I can try something new. There's something new out there, and it's more healthy for me and my family. And now we have the internet, so we can share healthier ideas faster and connect in a way where we can all get better together faster as well. And so that's my spiel on why I think hip hop is dying, but not really. I wouldn't say hip hop. I'll just say rap. But I don't think hip hop is dying. I know that people say like hip hop became this kind of rap, but I don't think hip hop, it like the original kind, is dying. I think it was being pushed down, but I think it's going to come back as this version, quote unquote, of hip hop dies, because there will still be people who need outlets no matter what. We have to remember hip hop did not start as a ticket out of the hood. It was just poetry. And then, people added a beat to it. And then they realized, hey, I can put this poetry over this beat A lot of people like it. A lot of people are bobbing their head. They want me to keep doing it. This could be a song. This could be a living. And that's how hip hop was made. And so I think people still need outlets. And if you don't want to do art and you don't want to do fashion and you don't want to do gardening and you don't want to do exercising or this or that, some people still always want to pick up a pen and paper and do poetry. And so I think no matter what, hip hop will never die because people will always want poetry and rhythm will always be a thing. I just think whatever they want to call this fucking shit these days, I think that shit is dying. And I think it needs to. I think it needs to. Do I think it will come back? Yes, I do. And the reason I do is because I think everything comes back. Everything dies and it always comes back and then it dies again. Um, and so I don't think anything really truly ever dies. I think it just goes away for a little while. And I think that's what original hip hop did. And I think it'll come back probably within like maybe the next 20 to 30 years. We'll start hearing the type of hip hop we knew. And then I can be like 6 years old telling like kids like that ain't nothing, child. We was listening to that when I was your age a long time ago. And then they can just think I'm the fucking kooky old lady. But I mean, I wouldn't be wrong. So that's the thing. They are kooky and they are old, but they are rarely wrong. So there's that. That has been today's, I don't want to call it a podcast, but today's like conversation, I guess. Um, I don't know how to make like an outro. Like, I don't know what the outro would be. So I'm just gonna fucking stop the shit.